So let me
reform is a lie.
Let me ask you another question. So let's assume, I mean, you don't like the system, you call it capitalist, fine, okay, whatever. Now, you don't like imperialism, you don't like capitalism. How are we going to change the system to make it better? I mean, what's your solution? Let's assume that you're right. Let's assume, like you said, it's getting worse and worse, that your life is getting worse and worse. How can you make it better? I mean, give me the recipe.
I mean, there's no absolute recipe, but the fundamentals of what happens is that as the oppression continues, working people organize and fight back against the system.
What if they don't want to fight?
I fundamentally believe that people do want to fight and that they're organizing. Sometimes they get misled into one thing or another, but as things get worse and worse.
Okay, let's say you convince we have a country.
I don't have to convince people. People are getting angry on their own. People's pensions are being taken away. People's healthcare is getting worse. People are losing, even privileged workers like myself, right? Compared to Black and Latino workers in the country, or even worse, workers in China or other places. That things are getting worse and worse, and so people are organizing to fight back. Now, sometimes those organizations get pushed into electoralism because people think they have hopes in Obama or this person and that. But over time, people start to see through all the games and all the myths and all the mazes.
So what are you going to do?
What?
What are you going to do?
We're going to try to be part of organizing to fight for improvements, and in the course of fighting for those improvements, to show that the only way that any of us working people can have a decent life is to get rid of the system once and for all.
How can you convince me, a capitalist? What? How can you convince me, a capitalist, a small business owner?
Well, you're what Marx would call petty bourgeois, right? If you're a small business owner, right? You're not.
How can you convince me, a small bourgeois? If you like these terms, I haven't heard those for a long time.
Petty bourgeois. It means small. It's a scientific term, right? You don't control.
No, it's Marxist term, but that's okay. I studied it for so many years. But go ahead, yeah.
In the end,
it's basically the same thing. But
professionals. People.
So you're not going to fight against me, right?
No, I mean,
but I employ people.
What?
I employ people, and I can pay them really low wage if I want to. I mean, technically,
yes,
I can.
But we'll those low wages. But we believe that your interests are more akin to workers than they are to the billionaires.
Let's say today.
You might not think so, but when the economy gets worse and worse, it's the smaller and smaller businesses that get pushed into harder and harder conditions, that have to make conditions harder for their workers, and themselves get pushed out of their business and have to go find a
So what are you going to do to me? Let's say right now I'm signing hopefully some agreements with some big companies. Hopefully I'll start selling, I'm in furniture business. Hopefully I'll start selling through them, and hopefully from a small business I become, medium size. But I'd love to become a big business, like anybody. But what are you going to do to me? Where's this cut of 50 employees?
It's not
100 employees. A billion.
You're thinking about it.
100 million.
That's a formula. It doesn't take in the dynamics of class struggle. That is, we believe that you, as a small businessman, have more in common with actually your own workers, despite the difference of what you pay them and all of that, than you do to the billionaires who control the international companies.
Let me ask you this. Do you want me to grow?
What?
Do you want me to grow?
What we want is...
No, do you want me to... It's a simple question. I'm a small business now. Do you want me to grow?
No. We don't believe,
you don't want me to grow.
I want people to realize that.
You don't want me to grow, really. You're telling me you don't want me to grow. You don't want me to hire more people, right? You don't.
I don't have any interest in that. I have an interest in you're hiring more people.
Yes.
In the end, isn't going to save capitalism from destroying itself, right?
But you are against me getting bigger and hiring more people.
It doesn't matter to me one way or another.
Yeah. We're not fighting you, small businessmen, because...
you're asking the wrong questions.
Because you
that's my question.
You're in the wrong coordinate system, right?
Okay, we are in the wrong coordinate systems.
By the big capitalists who have to gain larger and larger profits just to survive.
Let me try to answer the question that you asked earlier, which is that we are looking for alliances with people who are small business owners, who are, you know.
But your precepts, your recipe goes against my business.
I have a friend who's a small business owner.
Yeah.
He owns a comic book store. He has employees.
Socialism is against any businesses, period.
Yeah, but he realizes he is, as you see in this period, that the small business owner is in a very precarious position between the workers and the big business owners. Some,
I'm not.
Okay, but many are.
I'm not.
And I'm telling you about others that I know.
Okay, fine.
Who are, he is moving leftward because he sees what's going on with capitalism, stuff like that. And he, although he has a business, he is interested in critiquing capitalism and recognizing the system.
Let me ask you a simple question, if I may.
Sure.
Do you think that every business is supposed to succeed?
Is supposed to succeed?
Succeed, yeah.
Is that teleological?
No, it's a practical. I mean, people start businesses. I started my business, and it's not the first business that I'm in. Millions of people start their businesses, and overwhelmingly, statistically, during the first year of starting their business, two-thirds, as many as two-thirds, fail. So.
But what is that? I don't see the.
That is part of. You say that.
That's part of the. So in other.
You had.
That's part of the capitalist system. They fail. So in your system.
Most of them are going to fail, even if you're
in the capitalist system.
But in the capitalist system, because the bigger capitalists have to get the profits from the smaller ones and run them out of business.
Really?
Yeah.
But in socialism,
what has always happened.
But in a socialist system, nobody's going to fail. Is that right?
They're not going to be businesses because you're not going to have capitalists.
There will be no business.
Now, you are going to have production, you are going to have services, but...
what services?
What services? Alrighty, healthcare is a service.
Okay, what else? How about...
transportation is a service.
Okay, well, what other services? Do you think that you can have like, sauna, maybe spas in the socialism, maybe, I don't know, hairdressers in socialism, furniture stores, maybe?
If that's what people want, people will have much more resources.
Where are they going to get their resources from?
Because everybody is going to be working and producing, either goods or services.
Working for who? I mean, these are legitimate questions, right? I mean, you have the system. I hope that you can defend your system.
What?
You have your ideas. I hope you can defend your ideas, right? Yeah. I mean, these are legitimate questions, like real-life questions.
Already.
Okay, so socialism, service is fine. Let's say I'm in the furniture business. I want to sell furniture.
The working class, when you get to communism, which is the socialism and the workers' it will be run. I really kind of object to you sticking it in my face, but
I'm pulling it out.
It will be controlled by the producers because they won't be workers any longer. The producers of the goods and services, and everyone will be a part of that.
And who's going to start the business?
It's not going to be.
No, you said producers. Who's going to production? I mean, fine, not business, production. Who's going to start the production or services? Who's going to start it?
What do you mean? Who's going to start it? It's going to.
Where's it going to come from? I mean, to run the transportation, obviously you have to have, let's say, buses. Who's going to build the buses?
Other producers.
Who are the producers?
The people who work in,
where?
Who go to factories or whatever and produce things, or people who provide the services.
And who's going to build the factories? I mean, who's going to own the factories? Who's going to design factories? I mean, who's going to be in charge? What if they make the buses that they break all the time? Who's going to check that they really, quality buses?
The immigrant attacks. Unconditional amnesty for all workers undocumented.
No, seriously. I mean, did you think through? I mean, all these issues. So
it is going to be controlled jointly by the producers. The producers of goods and services.
Okay, you know how Boeing was built?
What?
Boeing. You know Boeing?
Yes.
You know, the company that makes planes, right?
Yes.
You know how they started their company, right?
Well, I don't know specifically about Boeing, but...
the way they started their company, they went to the state of Washington. They basically purchased a plot of land.
Yeah.
They cleared it up. And from scratch, from nothing, they built this hugely successful company.
Because they had money to buy the land and the metal, the equipment, and all those things. They had it. Where did they get that money from?
Okay.
From taking it from other businesses.
Okay. Now, in socialism, the services like transportation will involve buses.
Yes.
Now, to build buses,
yes.
If they're not produced, how are we going to start a factory that will start producing buses? How is it going to be accomplished?
Well, to the very beginning, we have factories.
Where? No, where? Where are you going to get the factories from?
They already exist under capitalism. We're going to take, the workers are going to take them over. This is long before communism exists.
Look, let me tell you this. If let's say you decide to take by force my business, I'm going to burn it. I'm going to burn it. I'm not going to give you any of my business. I'm going to fight for my business. Okay, so I burn my business. I mean, hypothetically. Okay, I used to have a business that produced buses. You want to take it over? I burn it. What do you do?
Well, for one thing,
because it's a war.
Yeah.
I burn it.
It's a war.
Okay.
You have workers in your factory.
Okay, I burn my factory. I burn it. I escape. Okay, like I escape from USSR. I'll escape
I'm not saying that
back to Russia.
won't destroy their own property.
I will. So what are you going to do? Let's say I'm the only bus manufacturer. What are you going to do?
I don't know how many workers you have, right? I don't know how many the bus manufacturer has. But believe me, there are more workers than there are bosses.
Of course there are. Of course, not everybody can be a boss. It doesn't make sense for everybody to be a boss. Absolutely. Somebody has to work.
Yeah.
I mean, do manual job, obviously.
More people work than are the bosses, which is part of the problem.
Will there be bosses in socialism? Or there'll be no bosses whatsoever?
The producers will be their own bosses.
Okay, let's say there's a bus factory.
You're telling me that all the years I worked, I couldn't run jointly with my fellow workers the department I worked in a heck of a lot better than the managers who half the time didn't have any experience and didn't know what they were doing. Believe me, the workers know how to build things and provide services.
Does anything, but anything prevent you from becoming a manager in this country? Or becoming a CEO?
I didn't want to be a manager because
but on the one hand, you blame the manager. On the other hand, you don't want to be the manager. So which is it? Do we need any managers?
Because
do we need any managers?
Specifically separate from the producers, no.
No. So let's say
they do under capitalism. That's part of the problem.
Okay. What's your name?
My name is Ann.
I'm sorry?
Ann.
Ann. I'm Vladimir. Okay. So Ann, there's a revolution. Okay. You destroy, or let's say those evil imperialists, they're not going to give up their property that they've built. They were making buses. They burn all their bus factories.
Well, but they'd have to be able to, and you've got thousands of workers to fight them doing that.
I burn it. I'm the owner. I burn my business. So you need buses.
If you have 1,000 workers with guns pointed at you.
I'll find the way. Don't worry. So you have the empty lot now. So you have to build buses, okay? Because you need services, you need to transport people. How gonna build this bus factory? How? Tell me. In the socialist system.
If the capitalist class destroy everything on Earth.
Okay, we destroy it, fine. So
everything on Earth.
We destroyed. Bus factory, specifically bus factory. Let's be specific.
Then you are not going to be able to have socialism or communism. What you are going to have is barbarism, which is what we're going to have anyway.
If I understand you correctly, the only way for socialism allegedly to succeed is to take over from the capitalists' gains.
It is progressive to the capitalists.
Oh, bingo!
Capitalism was progressive to medieval feudalism.
I see.
We have no problem with that. The capitalists took over
I see.
the production of feudalism.
So
Didn't the capitalists take over production from feudalism?
No, they invented things. That's how it worked.
No. Oh, you're saying that there was nothing.
And there are four people
capitalism?
actually, major people who actually changed the world history more or less. People like Rockefeller, like Carnegie, like J.P. Morgan, like Ford. They really revolutionized.
Besides, they were late to the party. Anyway, capitalism started before them. But that's another bit. You're saying that there was no farming, that no one made ceramic bowls, that no one made buildings, no one produced anything until capitalism.
For socialism to succeed, it has to take over from the success of capitalism, correct?
Yes.
From the success of capitalism.
But there was progress made under capitalism, but it is now being destroyed by capitalism.
So why do you think that if capitalism has been successful so far, and all the attempts in 100 years to build the socialist societies failed, all of them, and I came from one of those. I mean, even the country itself doesn't exist anymore.
As I say, it was a worker state. Never got to.
Sure. So now, just like when Lenin was trying to take over, and there were this term that they used against, petty bourgeoisie, as you like to call them, kulaks, as they used to call them, the farmers who actually worked for their families, and they had little surplus that is sold on the market. You know, that's what kulaks essentially about.
They are the large enemy of the working class. The capitalists are.
So the minute when Lenin wanted to expropriate, they like this word, expropriate their possessions, they just burn it. I mean, what's the point? They just burn everything. So let's say the successful, the successful capitalist country like ourselves, if you guys decide to take over, I'm going to fight back. I'm going to burn everything that I have.
You say that the U.S. is successful. You tell me why people are starving in this country if it's successful. The system is not successful. It ceased to be successful around the turn of the last century.
Do you have problems buying toilet paper?
Me personally, no, but I know other workers who do.
Do you have
put food, who do not have a place to live?
Do you have problems
shelter?
Buying, this
Me personally,
jacket
no.
that
I
you
was
wear,
one of the lucky people who had a job because I had a union that had fought in the past for certain things against the capitalists.
Okay, so to sum it up, for socialism to succeed, we have to take over from the success of capitalism. That's the bottom line.
What was produced, just as capitalism took over from what was produced, it was not.
And you can't tell me how you can build.
People were not running around living with no shelter or living in caves, running around with only the food that they could gather, with either no clothes or skins before capitalism. So capitalism took over what was produced prior to that, including the scientific discoveries.
If I'm the owner of the only bus manufacturing company, and you need buses, you still didn't give me the answer as to how you're going to build the bus factory from scratch.
Then we have to go to the steel manufacturing plants. The steel manufacturing plants. Steel. Metal.
But who owns steel factory? Another capitalist. He's going to burn it too.
Well, if they burn everything, then no one's going to have anything, including them.
No, because otherwise you want to take everything over. Why should I give it to you? I'll burn it. I'd rather burn it.
We'll take it. We don't expect you to give it to us.
So in other words, if I burn it, there is nothing you can do. You cannot build it from scratch.
We can prevent you from burning it.
That's the only thing that you can do.
Yeah, of course. That is the thing.
I got it. All right.